If you're going through a tough time and feel like no one in your life is really prepared to give you the advice that you need and no one really understands what you're dealing with, I have something for you that has completely changed the way I navigate difficult situations. It is to seek counsel from the one person who knows you better than anyone else can, and that is your future self. I ordered this random little journal off of Amazon, and on December 31st, 2023, I started writing from my future self to my current self. Now, this approach is completely different from what I used to do growing up. When I was in college in my little dorm room, I did write journals from my younger self to the future version of me because I felt like that's what I needed. I felt like she inspired me so much and I needed to confide in her. But I don't know what made me just take a different approach where I had her start writing to me. And I think I need that so much more now as an adult, where I'm able to kind of embody her and imagine what she looks like and sounds like. It's just my way of basically channeling my higher self, or the version of me I know I'm going to be, and letting her wisdom add color to whatever situation I'm going through. And I actually want to read you a very recent journal entry. So I had a bunch of different journal entries, and then, things started to get a little bit crazy, or a lot of bit crazy in my life. And I want to read you one of the most recent journal entries that I think will really resonate with you regardless what you're going through. I am speaking once again from the older version of me. You can pick whichever version of you that is for you. For me, I found it most helpful to speak to the version of me that I will become at the end of this year. It might work for you to do like the 10-year from now version of you, or 2-year from now, or maybe it's not a timeline, but it's like a certain accomplishment that you want to have. For me, I just felt like this short timeline of speaking to the version of me that I know I'm going to be stepping into 2025. And so here's what she had to say to me while I was going through it in the middle of March. She goes, "Okay, I didn't tell you about this part because I knew you'd freak out. Was I wrong? My love, you killed that shit in February. What did you expect? That March would look the same as the life you've been working to move on from? Things have transformed in ways that you couldn't imagine, in ways that you thought would take years, in some cases decades. Of course it's uncomfortable. It makes sense that you're a little freaked out, but let's look at it this way. What if you allowed this to be a testament to how rapidly and drastically God can shift things in your life practically overnight? What if you embraced being surprised because it shatters your glass ceiling for what's possible? So let things continue to play out in a way that shocks you, humbles you, sweeps you off of your feet. Let God sweep you off of your feet. You are remarkable right now. I can only be me because you chose to be you so boldly, even when the vision didn't feel clear to anyone but you. My love, clear the clouds. You have the power to do that. Block out the noise, the should've, would've, could've, and double down on dreaming. Besides, my reality is nothing but a dream that you decided to double down on. For that, I owe you all of me. So let me give you the courage to double down right now. You've got this." And I sign off re-32 because I'll be 32 by that time. Without you even understanding what I was going through, because it's honestly not even really relevant. Basically, I made some crazy shifts in February. I was so much more focused than I've ever been, and I just really doubled down. That's where, this 29 Days of Power series that I started on YouTube was part of an internal shift that I was also experiencing. But then it's almost like I had this prescribed prediction of how things would play out. And it's like, oh, well, if you do this, then here are the shifts that are going to happen in your life. And when I tell you that the shifts that have happened in my life were things that I could not have predicted at all. They were not things I saw coming. They were not fully positive things, if I'm going to be honest, but they were things that were very necessary. I could already see how necessary they were to the life that I'm creating. And so this is the older, wiser version of me who knew what was going to happen, basically telling me yeah, I didn't tell you about that because I knew you would freak out, but let's take a step back and understand what this truly represents. What this represents is you made such crazy shifts in your life in February. And, by the rules of the law of attraction and the way the world works, if you make internal shifts, it is just law that your external reality is going to reflect those shifts. But I think what I was doing was trying to predict what that was going to look like. And I just watched this podcast that kind of checked me the other day around that, where it's if you start to become a different version of you, You cannot predict how that's going to shift your reality because you have never been that version of you. You have never held that identity. And so the only things that you can predict from this place that you're in right now is based off of things that you've already done or already seen. And that's actually not how it works, because when you become a version of you that you've never become, that you've never been or never seen, then the possibilities are honestly endless. Side note, if you've watched the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, and if you thought it was stupid the first time you watched it, I encourage you to rewatch it. I know it's really long and kind of weird, but try to look at it through the lens of, like, if you're into like manifestation, the quantum field, like look at it through the lens of when you shift your identity, the possibilities and opportunities and outcomes become limitless. Like, that is actually the theme of the movie. And it took me to watch it the second time for me to actually understand it. Because the first time I watched it, I'm like, this is the dumbest movie I've ever watched in my whole life. And I have no idea how it won an Oscar. But then I watched it again and I'm like, oh, the joke's on you. You just didn't get it. So anyway, that was just a side note. But the point here is that when you start to change, my love, when you start to do things you've never done before, when you start to embody a completely new identity, be open to the way the world is going to reflect that. None of us are God, so none of us get to call the show. And I think that I needed this healthy reminder of, like, stop trying to predict outcomes. Leave that up to God. You always tell other people to give God room to surprise you. Why are you not taking your own advice? I'm gonna make a whole other video about that because I love that concept. But I think that I needed to remind myself, no. Everything that you're doing, it's working. It's just not working in the ways you thought it would work. But who are you to say how it should work? Be open. Be open. God is going to surprise you in ways that are going to have your jaw to the floor because you're going to be so in awe of how that's going to play out. But some little things need to get maneuvered and shifted and moved around and even cut out of your life before that can happen. And just because you don't see the bigger picture doesn't mean that there is not a bigger picture there. Just because you can't make sense of it doesn't mean that there's not a lot of wisdom around why things are happening the way that they do. So understand that if you're meant to find out why, you will find out why. And if you don't know now, then it's okay. Just trust that it is all happening for a greater good. If this is something you're down to try, let me know. Like, this journal thing of just embodying your future self and giving your current self advice through that lens has just been so game-changing for me. I really go to her like she's my best friend. And even on the days, especially on the days where I'm not in a good mood, I'm not in the mood to be inspired, I'm not in the mood to even be like pulled out of what I'm feeling, I just want to bitch about things, I try my best to go to her because I always end up feeling more aligned and just more confident and self-assured even on those bad days. I end up feeling a lot more clarity, like truly. And when I put the pen to paper, I truly don't know what she's going to say. That's the weird thing. It's not like I plan out what I'm going to write, but I just do this kind of meditative exercise of embodying her and having her tell me what she thinks I need to hear. And it's always spot on. Let me know if you're down to try this. I am here for you regardless what you're going through, but I promise you that your future self is even more here for you than I could ever be. I love you so much. And as always, stay powerful, my love.